You're watching the Community MMA.
Buckle your seatbelts because we got a lot of topics to discuss today. Let's begin with Islam Makhachev. It's confirmed that he won't be cornered by Khabib at UFC 284, and that's leading to a lot of discussions as to how it will affect Islam Makhachev. Will he grow from this? Will he be a better fighter now? Khabib got him this far. Now Khabib's out of the corner, and now he can mature and grow. We're getting some comments on that after posting last night's video updating this topic. On the other hand, he's used to having Khabib in the corner tell him what he's seeing, right? And to me, that's a big deal. So you're in the octagon, you're on the ground, you're grappling, and you got one of the best grapplers in the world telling you what he sees from an outside perspective. And a lot of times you're doing that. But at this point for Islam Makhachev, it should be second nature anyway. So I'm leaning more towards Islam Makhachev rising to a new level, right? I mean, I don't know if this is the fight where you want Khabib to leave your corner, maybe after this fight, and you get past the pound for pound number one fighter in the world. But at the same time, Volkanovski's got to come up to his level. He's got to come up to his division. And I just don't see a possibility where Islam Makhachev doesn't get the job done. In my opinion, he's going to win this fight. I just don't know if it's going to be a 5-round battle or if Islam will get the early submission. I mean, it's going to go one way or the other. If Volkanovski starts getting into the second round, gets deep into the second round, this thing goes to the third round, to me, it's going toward a decision. It's either going to be a quick stoppage sometime in the first round, early second, like against Oliveira, or this thing is going to a decision, and a decision could be trouble for Islam Makhachev. So that's the question today. Does Khabib not cornering Islam Makhachev help or hurt him? It's hard to say that it's going to help him in this fight. I think it will help him over time as now he matures to a new level, right? He still has coaches. He's got Coach Mendez. But not having Khabib in the corner will be a big factor in this fight, but it's not going to be a big enough factor to where he's going to lose the fight or anything like that. So that's the news today ahead of UFC 284, which doesn't even go down until next month. We still got UFC 283 before this. But Islam Makhachev is without Khabib in his corner. And we'll see what type of effect this has on him. Or if it has any effect at all. He might just go in there and run through Volkanovski. And Khabib not being in his corner could have no effect at all. But when you look at these situations and you say, okay, Khabib's on the outside, he's seeing things Islam Makhachev may not see. And again, he's the best grappler in the world. He sees things that no other person on the planet would see. You go to the ground, you're in a certain position, Khabib's yelling from the corner, take the leg, rotate this way, whatever. I'm not a grappler, right? But you understand the gist of the conversation is that you're getting a perspective from someone who's not locked in the moment, that's outside, is not going through the emotions of the fight, and is seeing certain things. And I think that helps Islam Makhachev in every fight. But it's at the point where Makhachev is a good enough grappler where everything is second nature. He's probably doing the same things that Khabib is saying as Khabib is saying it. But there are times in the fights, if you watch, when Khabib yells something and Islam Makhachev does it right away, and 9 times out of 10, it works immediately. So we'll see if that has any effect in this fight, especially if it goes to the ground with Volkanovski. And could we be in for a shocker here? Because if Islam Makhachev does go down, that's going to be the talk, is that it's because Khabib wasn't in his corner. So there's a lot to lose here for Islam Makhachev and just a little bit to gain. Because if he wins, then they're going to say Volkanovski was out of his league in this fight, right? It's hard to go up to lightweight. McGregor did it, but it's very, very difficult to do. So as we venture into some other topics, Al Tapo Maktapo saying, Chris, don't start the year with a bad prediction. Mavov will finish him, beat him up. Yeah. And of course, the voice of reason's got me nervous. He goes on to say, I want Strickland to win, but says this is not the fight for him. He should have fought Robert since Costa pulled out. So people are giving Mavov a lot of credit, but my thing is he's lost 3 fights. You know, maybe the guy's peaking. Maybe it's going to be a tough fight for Sean Strickland, but he lost 3 fights. And Sean Strickland is a very mad individual right now. He got dropped by Alex Pereira. That hurt his rep. Then he comes back against Jared Cannonier and, to me, won the fight and lost on a split decision. So this is why, regardless of what Sean Strickland said, and I didn't even see the interview, to be honest, but this fight is all about him taking the fight on short notice because he wants a victory. And I don't think he would take this fight if he didn't think he can get the victory. So we'll have to wait and see. But, and now Sean Strickland is the underdog, believe it or not. MMA Fight Bet says I actually have the opposite opinion. Sean's a good dude, or a good down-to-earth dude. But he is too one-dimensional, and Mavov is the real deal dude. Or is the real dude. He is no joke, brother. I'm telling you. Well-rounded, tons of tools, tons of options. I just don't see him looking. In fact, I see him finishing Strickland early. The only doubt I have about the situation is Mavov has questionable cardio. I've seen him gassed in the second round. So what I'm taking from that is if Sean Strickland can just get deeper into this fight, get this thing into the second round, get comfortable, get into the third round, he's going to start to take over the fight. So, if Mavov could put him away early, fine. But I just don't see that happening with Sean Strickland. I mean, it's not going to be Alex Pereira. We keep writing Sean Strickland off as if he's a terrible fighter. If you consider the fact that he probably beat Jared Cannonier and just got knocked out by Alex Pereira, well, so be it. He's still a top 5 and top 3 middleweight division fighter. So that's what it is. And I'm sticking with it. And listen, going into this year, we had such a good year in 2022. I'm taking chances this year. So maybe I do come in with a bad prediction. We'll see. But I'm hoping to hit the ground running like we did last year when we jumped out to that 16-2 main event prediction record, right? We got 16 of the first 18, went on an amazing 10-fight streak where we picked 10 straight winners, and we're strictly talking the main event. The rest of the year is about 70%, maybe right at 68%, but close to 70% on prediction. So we'll take it. It is what it is. But there's good fights up and down the card this weekend. In fact, we got 2 other predictions we want to get to today. And one good one we'll start here is Punahele Soriano versus Roman Kopylov. This is going to be a heck of a fight. Let's get into this prediction now. In the middleweight division at UFC Fight Night, you got Punahele Soriano taking on Roman Kopylov. Both guys 9-2. This should be a great fight. Kopylov 1 inch taller at 6 feet. He's got a 2-inch reach advantage, 75 or 73. And both guys fight left-handed. I like that. In terms of significant strikes per minute, Soriano's got the advantage, nearly 4 per minute. Kopylov right around 3.5. Takedown average also goes to Soriano. He gets one like every 3 rounds. Not a big deal. Kopylov, not very many at all. He wants to keep the fight standing. Now, the trick to this is Soriano has just a 31% takedown defense. That's not very good. But he's coming off the win against Lou Gambula by knockout. Before that, he lost to Nick Maximov by split decision. And Brendan Allen by unanimous decision. So he's 1-2 in his last 3 fights. Kopylov in a similar boat, except he's got an 87% takedown defense. That's going to keep the fight standing. Coming off the win over Alessio Di Chirico, which is big time, right? 3rd round knockout. He was leading 59-39 in significant strikes, so would have likely won the fight regardless of the knockout. Before that, he lost to Albert Duraev by decision. He's outstruck 71-42 and lost to Carl Robertson by rear naked submission. So he's 1-2 in his last 3. And to me, it just depends on which guy shows up for both of these guys. It would be great if we get the best versions of both Soriano and Kopylov, or even if we get the worst versions. But if one of them shows up and the other one doesn't, which when you look at their resume, that's kind of what's happened over the last 3 fights, it's going to be a one-sided affair. But I think both of them are going to show up here. Both guys are trying to get the double digits, are trying to get that 10th win under their belt, right? You can't go 1-3 in your last 4 UFC fights and be sticking around too long. So both guys got a little desperation here. At the same time, Soriano's a slightly better striker, so I lean toward him in this fight simply for that reason. I think Punahele Soriano is going to get the win here just by outstriking Roman Kopylov. Shouldn't be many takedowns in this fight. Soriano wins 2 out of 3 rounds to move to 10-2 here in the middleweight division. UFC Fight Night. Yeah, so I'm getting a few more people agree with me on this one. We got a lot of disagreements on this card. And in fact, I kind of like when that happens. I like when there's more disagreements than everyone just agreeing, because then we're either all happy together or mad together. I like when I'm right or wrong and I'm against the rest of the community. That just, like when it was Oliveira versus Makhachev and I lost that one. Or back in the day when it was Adesanya versus, who was it? Jan Blachowicz. And everybody thought Adesanya was going to win except me. I was on an island. I kind of like it when it's like that. And let the chips fall where they may. But here, Punahele Soriano is just better. In my opinion, he's a negative 160 favorite for entertainment purposes only. You also got Ketlin Vieira. She's favored over Rockwell Pennington. Of course, that's going to be a close fight. You got Umar Nurmagomedov, a huge favorite on this card, 10-1. Unbelievable. And another good fight that I'm really excited about is Javid Basharat versus Mateusz Mendonca. I mean, you got 2 undefeated guys here, and this will be the main event in the prelims. You got a 13-0 versus a 10-0. So that's probably a highly underrated fight until this fight takes place. So that's going to be a big one as well. So you got all types of big fights here this weekend, the first weekend back for the UFC. And I'm glad Sean Strickland is at the top of the card. The man who this card was built around. I love when they say that, yet he took the fight like a week ago. So how do you build the card was already set up, but they will say the man who the card was built around. It's funny. Let's get into the Q&A a little bit this morning. And we'll kick it off with Bernard saying, no way Terrence McKinney destroys Ismail Bonfim. And that's what I'm taking a chance on, because Bonfim's coming in with a lot of hype. But I just don't see it happen. I think Terrence McKinney's a knockout specialist. If it goes to the ground, it could be trouble. But if I'm McKinney, I'm coming into this fight like he did against Matt Frevola in 7 seconds. I'm trying to overwhelm Bonfim in his UFC debut, I believe, and go ahead and try to finish this thing early while the guy's a little nervous. Chop Board says Amavov will defeat Strickland. Strickland has nothing. We'll see. Steve Robinson, I believe. So let me get this straight. Dana White's wife smacks him for whatever reason. And he returns the smack, and people women want this man to step down. Yeah, so Dana White did the press conference, kind of like sort of like an apology tour, but he's saying his punishment is being Dana White, having to deal with this for the rest of his life. And I'm in agreement with him. We're always quick to want to punish someone. I mean, we want somebody punished. It's a personal matter. Just because we all saw it on video does not mean we can interject ourselves and say, this is what should happen. I mean, we can. But the bottom line is these companies are going to do what they want. And the fact is, this is going to be a stigma on Dana White's name for the rest of his life. And that's worse than any punishment you can have. So I'm in agreement with Dana White on that. I mean, it is what it is. SY says, this is literally insane. I'm convinced that fighter pay issues and Dana being not nice to media sometimes, and also Dana's own comments on women in his past is part of the insane overreaction. Now, I'll be honest with you. I'm surprised there isn't more of a reaction. If his wife didn't land the first blow, this would be crazy because it's a tough situation. I don't want to say for women, for that movement, right? Because you want to say and jump all over Dana White, but you also got to be careful because he got hit first. At the same time, you know, just because we're living in this social environment that's constantly changing right now, as we've seen over the past 20, 30 years, and you go all the way back to the 1800s at the beginning of the women's rights movement and things of that nature, but, you know, you just can't hit a woman. I mean, we can't change from that just because everything else around us is changing. The fact is, you don't hit a woman, you take the smack, and you deal with it. Or behind closed doors, you know, you have a good conversation about it. Because there is something about being a man that when your woman smacks you in public, it's like a demeaning thing, especially when you're around your boys and all that type of stuff. So Dana White was not right to return a blow, but there's a lot of factors in that situation. I'm sure he wasn't thinking clearly. And another comment says, and all these people that claim a dude can never touch a woman, how many of them are going to call police if a woman assaults them? They are human adults. They need to be held accountable for assault. And then even if you get some of these people to admit they should be arrested instead of smacked back, now you need to worry about half these cops being biased against you. Yeah, so it's like, you know, imagine Dana. First of all, Dana White and his wife have been married nearly 30 years. So she smacks him. He's not calling the cops. It's a family matter. Everybody wants to get the cops involved nowadays. And if the cops come, you know, it's very likely that Dana White could have took one across the face, called the cops, if that's what he wanted to do, and he's probably still getting arrested. So he doesn't really have much of an angle here, but it could have been handled much different. Hopefully we all agree on that. If any of you out there think that it's okay to hit a woman, you're absolutely insane. I'm just telling you. It's not. So these are the things that are going on. Kenneth Bruner back says, best way to refresh the MMA news cycle, announce a Hamza versus Pereira title fight for March, then announce John Jones versus Ngannou. Nobody will focus on the nonsense anymore. Let's go GOAT. Or Wolf, excuse me. Let's go Wolf. Hamza Chimaev the Wolf. Yeah, and that's exactly right. You know, if I'm Dana White and company, I'm trying to make huge announcements right now, but in fact, that's not happening. And it just goes to show you how tough it is to set up both of these. I mean, Hamza against anybody is very tough. And then even tougher is John Jones versus Ngannou. And what is going on with the heavyweight division? I mean, how long can Ngannou just sit there and not fight? I mean, it's crazy to me that they allow this to happen. You should have to fight every 6 months unless you are injured. And I know Ngannou was dealing with an injury and he was recovering, but it's been over a year, man. He last fought Cyril Gane this time last year, so it's been right about a year. And even if they set up a fight now, it's going to be 4 to 6 months out. So you're looking at a year and a half. He's just sitting on the title. To me, that's crazy. That's absolutely crazy. They got to get this division going. And it gets my blood pressure going when I even think about the heavyweight division. Because John Jones hasn't fought in years. And Ngannou hasn't fought in a year. Both of these guys are always making demands for more money, yet they never fight. And Ngannou could fight 2 or 3 times a year and be making bank. But he's going to spend the whole year trying to get the same amount he would get for the 2 or 3 other fights. Plus, you're getting points on those pay-per-views. That's what people don't realize. Is you know, he's getting his base pay plus, you know, say he fights 3 times a year, he's getting his base pay plus hopefully winning those 3 fights, so he doubles his pay. Then you're getting points on the pay-per-view. You know, he's wasting a lot of time as champion right now when he could be getting paid. And he should be doing what like Anad Asanya does. Fight the number 2, fight the number 3, fight the number 5, beat them all. Maybe then fight John Jones later. You know, force John Jones into the mix for who cares how much money John Jones is getting. Focus on your payday and fighting 2 or 3 times a year, getting the win bonus and the points on the pay-per-view. But, you know, it is what it is. You can't tell that to these fighters. They want to argue for 2 years over one big payday. And I get it, but why not take 5 or 6 paydays that are probably more than that one when you combine it up? But that's just my thoughts, man. What do I know? This your boy, Chris Cross. Thanks for watching. This is a community MMA. Have a great day. God bless. Peace.